We're talking about the motorway, the state of it, which is now causing deaths and of course inconvenience to commuters and costing us as a nation in terms of productivity. But it wasn't always like this. This problem started a long time ago. I'm going to share with you what government or authorities told us then, what they are telling us now, and then we will take you there to the motorway to see the current situation. You will also hear from those who use it every day. Some of them are actually on the motorway this morning as we speak. Okay, you'll be hearing the reality of this thing because this road is important to all of us. So let's start from the beginning. What did the authorities tell us back then when we started complaining about the terrible deterioration of the motorway? Listen to Ghana's government spokesperson on infrastructure at the time, Kojo Frimpong.
Let me state for the record, the most competent solution to the motorway is what government has adopted. It is not repair, it is not patching, it is a complete redesign, re-engineering, and reconstruction of the motorway. We signed a deal with Motor Angel, a construction deal or a commercial deal with Motor Angel. This motorway you see is now going to become a 10-lane motorway. You're going to have 4 lanes, the one which is there now being a freeway. We signed the engineering procurement contract in 2020. We are now arranging the funds that will come with it so that we can send it to Parliament for approval before it starts. As we speak, we expect that by December 2020, 3 months hence, we should be on site beginning the motorway.
You mean December 2021?
December 2021, we should be on site beginning the motorway. That's our expectation.
Yeah, that's what we were told then by Kojo Frimpong. Fine gentleman. You can picture him in his bow tie with his grey beard, telling us about December 2021 being the date for the commencement of construction of a 10-lane motorway to bridge Accra-Tema. This is what we were told 2 days ago by the acting director of public affairs at the Ghana Highway Authority, who is of course in the person of Cecil Wintum, about this same motorway. Listen.
Let me tell you one thing. We have a lot of living legends that are living with us in this country. People who go about moving some of these parts and making life very difficult for you and I. This traffic light thing you people have been talking about, you don't understand the reasons behind why most of the traffic lights are down today. People are moving parts. People are moving parts from some of these structures that you see around. And these traffic lights, they communicate amongst themselves. So if you move one part from this side and it cannot communicate to the other, what do you expect? So could you look, I've sat behind the console like you have been doing with your passion to speak and see Ghana work. I've done that for 22 years. For Christ's sake. Look, we need to work on our psyche. We need to work on our minds, my brother Kojo. So keep up the job you're doing. And let's all see how we can have a national conversation to change attitudes and change mindsets of people who are not willing to get this country. Oh, some of these people you see, they push some trucks around and all that. They are worse than armed robbers. I'm telling you, Kojo.
So let me ask you this, Cecil.
Yes.
What I wanted to know was whether the Highway Authority takes responsibility.
Yes, so I've just told you, responsibility, we must share it.
If I may, your response is that these things are happening because people are not slowing down on the motorway. That because people are stealing parts. So you are blaming the public for the accidents on the motorway?
So yes, well, I'm saying that we are part, fine, I understand. But we are doing our part. We continuously engage in maintenance activities, as I've just indicated. Our MMU people, we go and then we patch the sections. The sections we are patching, we are using bitumen. I heard you say that. Fine. But in no time, bitumen will expand because of heat and all that, and then that section is taken off. But the thing is that the motorway originally is concrete. constructed pavement. And I understand all the arguments that you can't use bitumen and all that to patch.
So why are you doing that?
Tells me that.
So why are you using bitumen?
Yeah, but we can also cut that section and say we are concretizing that section. You know the number of hours it will take to cure. You know the congestion you bring on the motorway. So these are just remedial measures that our engineers are putting in place to enhance the motorability of the motorway. And I'm only saying that until we all agree nationally that we reconstruct the motorway, these remedial maintenance activities will continue to go on. People must now apply caution.
I understand you. I want to be sure that I understand you, Cecil. You're saying that the reason why we are patching the concrete motorway with bitumen instead of concrete is because if we use the correct material, it will cause traffic?
Yes.
That's it?
No, so I'm saying that
all road construction causes traffic, Cecil.
It's not at one place. How do you do one spot and then you wait till it cures? And then you move to another spot and then you wait till it cures. So I'm saying that to have a holistic and a comprehensive reconstruction program, what do? We must now look for alternative routes. And where are those alternative routes? It could be the median, it could be our reservation. If we agree that is what is going on, I'm sure the engineers know better. They can come up with a design so that we can take traffic off the main carriageway onto the reservation or within the median, and then whilst they start work on the main carriageway. And if you look around, that's what is being done everywhere. In Ofankor, in Sawam Road, for instance, you realize that there's a lot of work going on within the median section where traffic will be taken off the main carriageway onto the median. And then if you allow people to go into that section and then start putting up structures and all that, you know what is going to happen. But look at the situation on the motorway, Kojo. Just look both left and right. Just look at what's happening. So much indiscipline. People have moved into our road reservation. And tomorrow, if you decide that you're going to bring down these structures, there are same persons who start shouting and making noise. I can't believe it. Seriously.
So that was Cecil Wintum. He's the Acting Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Highway Authority. Before him, you heard Kojo Frimpong, who was the government spokesperson on infrastructure when we had that conversation with him back in 2021. So, well, today, the motorway is the scene of accidents almost every single day. Anybody who has to traverse that stretch to work, from work, you are actually taking your life into your hands because you are traveling on a road that has passed its functional use date. We have been told by the Ghana Highway Authority that it is no longer has structural integrity. That's what Cecil Wintum told us. So every time you use that road, that's the risk you're taking. Before we start looking at the solution, let's try and understand and really relate and connect to this experience of using the motorway. Okay, so I've told you who we have in the studio, Mr. Nate. On the phones, we have Kate Walker, we have Charles Edemgo, who has just joined us, and Reggie Mark Hansen is also on the phone. Now, I'm just going to use my discretion and go ladies first, if I may. So Kate, why don't you give us a bit of a picture? This is your regular commute. Tell us what this experience is like from beginning to end using the motorway.
Thank you very much. My experience on the motorway daily, because I live in Tema constituency and I work at East Lagos. And daily I take this motorway in and out. And it is so frightening. I have 2 little children, and I always think about them whenever I start my journey on the motorway. Whilst you are trying to slow down and not speed, someone is approaching and coming very close to you. The holes on the motorway, our cars are suffering, and ourselves as humans, we are also taking the risk. And I would say our lives are in our hands, just as you said from the beginning. And what breaks my heart is that our politicians use the motorway in and out all the time. So I keep asking myself, do they see what we see? Do they experience what we experience? But it looks like no one cares. Whenever it rains, it becomes a different ballgame altogether. And when you get to the Ashama side of the motorway, as directly opposite Ajekojo, the junction, the bridge over there, it's opened. No barricade. And I think about those who drive in the night, because the lighting system, of course, is not so good. So what if someone misses it and then lands down there? My brother, whenever I close from work, I'm about to leave the house, as a practicing Catholic, I say my prayer, and then I plead with God and my Virgin Mary to help me on this motorway to go and come. The hand that does not work will not eat, so I need to go and work to support my husband to take care of the home. I need to be careful as well, so that I'll be alive for God. So that is my experience on the motorway. Every morning, dangerous. Evening, dangerous. 5 days in a week.
My goodness. Okay, I want to come into the studio and pick the thoughts of Mr. Nate. Etienne, you use this motorway quite often. Every time you have to come into Accra, for your job, right? Now we've heard what is being done. They're taking away those 2 toll booths, and they fixed the lights. Does this solve the problem for you?
I do not think taking away the toll booth solves this problem, because already with the presence of the toll booth, we were using that particular spot smoothly. We do not have any challenge with that. And fixing of the light without lane markings, I do not think that will equally solve the challenge, because we have potholes. And as I speak with you now, I'm the most angriest person when we talk about the motorway, because my mom had a serious accident, a very energetic woman.
Wow. And
since then, even walking for a minute is a challenge.
What happened?
She had an accident, a fatal one. And it's a bad story I do not want to describe. And if we have all our politicians making promises year in, year out, I think that we have to wake up and do something about it, or do something about them. Where they get breath, which is January 7th, that they are sworn in, should be seized. Because coming to the end of their term, where maybe their breath is seizing, they are able to do more than when their throat is rather opened. And I think that we have to pay attention to it now and force them to do something for us.
Of course, if you just joined us, we're talking about the motorway. It's a big concern for the whole nation. It's become a death trap. People are dying on that road far too regularly. And we're talking to those who use it on an almost daily basis. Etienne Nate is the one you just heard. You also heard from Kate Walker before him. She travels from Community 25 to East Legon every single day. She's a mother, and every day it's an exercise in taking life into your own hands. We also have Charles Edemgo and Reggie Mark Hansen, also users of the motorway. Let's hear their experiences. Reggie, I'll start with you if you don't mind. Now, so Etienne Nate says, look, too little and probably too late. You don't have road markings, but you're fixing the street lights. So really, you've solved half of the problem. Then you're removing these toll booths, which, to be fair, yes, people have been driving into them because there's no longer a need to slow down to pay a toll, right? So they're removing 2 of them. I want to ask you, in your view, what is the biggest problem on the motorway, and will these remedies resolve the biggest problem?
Sounds good. Look, as you said in your opening, in your intro, the motorway basically is 58 or so years old.
Yeah.
it's outlived. It's if it was like you and I, it's getting to retirement, isn't it? It's getting to 60 years, and it should be proceeding on retirement. So definitely the motorway, as I call it, the ex-motorway, is not fit for purpose. We cannot be addressing this through some of the measures that you just said, fixing of street lights, deconstructing toll booths. Whilst these are necessary, the key issue we have is the integrity of that road. And so long as the integrity issue is not addressed, then every other thing that we do, which may be helpful in terms of lighting up for the convenience of road users during the night, it is not sufficient. The basic challenge is getting the ex-motorway to become a motorway. Look, this is touching on our reputation. Could you note that this road is not just used by Ghanaians? Yes, for us it is paramount. It's our national resource, and we should come first. However, it's an international road. Imagining coming to our country for the first time from the eastern part, from Togo towards the capital and beyond, and this is what you experience. Consider that this links to the harbour, and this is the Tema Harbour is the biggest and the most used harbour in this country. So, in terms of economic value that this road actually generates, it's beyond. There shouldn't be any debate. We shouldn't be having this conversation of say, should the road be redone? It should. We cannot argue any other way.
Well, and this is also to you, Reggie. The acting director of public affairs at the Ghana Highway Authority, Cecil Wintum, he says, until there is a national agreement by the whole nation that the motorway must be fixed, these problems will prevail. What do you say to that?
What is the national agreement about this? What is the national agreement about this? This is a road that is there not for the sake that it's a nice to have. This is something that serves a critical purpose. It's an integral part of our economic infrastructure. So how can we say that there should be a national consensus? Why are we even thinking about that, or even defining it in those terms? I don't get what the acting director of public affairs is trying to convey. The road must be fixed. It must be, and by the way, earlier on you had played a clip which had the Kojo Frimpo on it, which was talking about the government at that time prioritizing the road. Why did the government then prioritize it? Did it go around the country consulting that, oh, we all need to agree to do this because we don't have XYZ? No. It's already there. It's something that must be done. We don't need any other talk. We don't need any other resources to be put into a conference to say, let's go and sit and talk about it. No way. We don't need that. All that we need is that this, like you rightly said, is killing people every day. It's causing psychological and emotional stress to people every morning and every evening. Lost productivity. I'm not a labor economist, but if you are to sit down and to calculate the amount of time we spend on slowing down, it took me 7 minutes just to traverse the portion between the Way Bridge and and where the bridge is, where a couple of months ago they had to reinforce it. It took me 7 minutes. Compound it with all the vehicles that use it this morning or every other morning, and that will tell you the cost that we are faced with. So we don't need any discussion, any agreement. I'm sorry about that.
Right, Charles. We also heard the Ghana Highway Authority explaining that, look, they use bitumen to patch concrete. It doesn't last. But it dries fast. If they were to use concrete, it would take forever to dry. It would cause traffic. Do you appreciate the point, Charles?
Could you thanks for the question. To be honest with you, I do not appreciate the point at all. And to be honest, I do not even see. I'm not an engineer to start with, but I just can't come to terms with the fact that a concrete road is being patched with bitumen. For those of us who use the motorway on a daily basis, we would probably tell you that, look, it's one of the hazards on the motorway today. It kind of throws you off, even when you slow down and all that. It worsens the state of the motorway. And he, the engineer, I'm sure knows this more than I do. I don't need to be an engineer to say that, look, patching a motorway, a concrete motorway with bitumen helps in any way. I do not see that at all. Look, the motorway today has outlived its purpose. It's dangerous to motorists. I use the motorway 7 days a week. Just because I work in Accra, my son school's in Accra. So I had to take him to school every day and work from the office. And obviously I do a return journey as well. On Sundays I go to church in Accra. On Saturdays I drive to Accra to play football. But I mean, it's like I'm saying, it's really outlived its purpose. It's just by sheer grace that some of us are alive today, because every day the kind of accident we see on the motorway, Okada riders just meandering through just anyhow, throttle drivers just joining the lanes without any care whatsoever. For me, it's a reflection of the fact that we do not value human life. I mean, how many people use the motorway on a daily basis? I think it's estimated about 20,000 plus cars drive on the motorway. That probably would give you a total estimation of over 80,000 people using the motorway on a daily basis, both commercial cars and private cars. If we really do have appreciation for human life, the motorway should never be in the state in which it is today. There's a worse problem it's been to start with. Look, assuming we want to close down the motorway, or we want to expand the motorway, look at the sort of construction going on in the motorway buffer today, and with such impunity. And who are involved? Politicians likewise are involved in these constructions, and we are sitting aloof and watching for things to go just bad like that. The motorway has been in existence for 58 years. Not a single government in between that has added a kilometer or even an inch of concrete road to the motorway since that time. It tells the story.
Well. We're talking about the motorway. ETN Nate, Kate Walker, Charles Edem-Go, and Reggie Mark Hansen are all users of this motorway. Daily, regular commuters on this motorway. Some of them have even had tragedy before their families because of how dangerous this road has become.
Your morning radio.
I feel like we're getting somewhere. We're now starting to paint the real picture of the problem on this motorway, so we can start fashioning solutions, because so far what the authorities have been doing clearly is only scratching the surface of solving the problem, a problem which is causing deaths every day. ETN Nate is here with us in the studio. Joining us over the phone, Kate Walker, Charles Edem-Go, and Reggie Mark Hansen are all very heavy users of the motorway. They experience the problems on a daily basis. Now we're going to talk solutions. And Reggie, I understand that you have an engagement. You might have to leave us soon, so I'm going to come to you first. And I guess you call it the X motorway, which is quite apt because it had a 50-year lifespan, which lapsed about 8 years ago. So for 8 years now, it hasn't technically been a motorway. Should they perhaps reduce the speed limits so that we no longer drive at motorway speeds? Do you think that might help?
Yes, I mean, in a society that adheres to rules, that might help. However, the problem is bigger than this, as you know. in our world, many of our drivers purchase their licenses. So when it comes to understanding road use and the respect for the other, that is not there, and such a measure by itself will not help. I mean, I mean, we can go into it, and our whole psyche, our whole psychology, for people who've not been well trained in road usage, right from understanding the good practices. For some, the habits that they've inculcated over the period, because over the years we've not tested people, we've not punished people, they believe that stepping on it is a normal way of driving. Yes, we may want to slow down what do you call it, driving speed, but how are we going to do that? And wouldn't it be best for us to put together those funds and start what we need to start, which to me is to reconstruct the road immediately. And let me digress for just a second. We are currently undergoing the exercise of limited registration towards 2024. It's important to us, and I respect that. We found the money for it. So why is something an ex-motorway, which is critical to our economic survival, why are we trying to approach it in such a piecemeal manner?
Now, Reggie, we are told that the plan is to construct a 10-lane motorway. So, could it be that in a bid not to waste money, they are not willing to reconstruct this motorway, only to demolish it for the 10-lane? In a couple of years or whenever the money is going to come.
What is paramount? Lives. Remember what our president told us during COVID, that he wants to save lives. So what is paramount? Every single blood that we shed on that road is an indictment on us, Kojo. We cannot argue in terms of economics here. These are human beings being maimed, being killed, and if living lucky to survive, who are emotionally distressed each day. And yet we are talking about Ghana competing in the global world when it's the prime of its workforce that traverses that road each day is feeling this unnecessary emotional pressure. Kojo, please, let's prioritize. I have to run now, but I want to thank you very much for the wonderful job you guys are doing, you and your team are doing, and I'll urge you to keep it up because we definitely need to get certain things done right. Thank you very much.
Reggie, we thank you so much for making the time to speak to us. We appreciate the sacrifice. We know you've got to get to this meeting. So all the very best. Godspeed. Let's continue this conversation. And ETN, look, there are many things being suggested. One of them is that, look, close down one half of the motorway, then use your concrete or whatever, to resurface it, even if it's bitumen, because it is done. Bitumen can be used to patch concrete, but under certain circumstances, and it has to become a regular thing, a consistent thing, because bitumen can reshape depending on the weather conditions. So you can't just do it once and say I've patched it. They tend to do that usually on runways for aircraft to land. In Germany they do it a lot, so they will be resurfacing it with bitumen, but regularly. Okay, so that the surface is always smooth for the aircraft to be landing regularly. Here we resurface and then we go away, and then the bitumen deteriorates. We don't engineer it properly. We don't resurface in slabs. We just fill it like potholes and lots of mistakes. But anyway, it can be done. The question is this: should we close down one side of the motorway, resurface it, whether with concrete or bitumen, then let people use the other side in the meantime, traffic going back and forth. And when that is done and dried, then we move them onto the new surface and then resurface the other half as well. Should we consider doing that? Will commuters like you have the patience for that to be done?
I do not think it's going to be favorable if that option is considered. The reason is, in construction of road, I think population census is checked. The 58 years that the road has spent, it has served its purpose. Now, the traffic on the stretch is not just because of the potholes. It is the number of people that maybe have amassed wealth, or our population have grown. The people moving from other stretch to access that road have increased. So at least we should have a plan to revamp the road, and not just to apply bitumen to fix it for us. So yes, we can consider that as a first step, but we should at least attempt or start working on the revamp aspect of it. Because what we know, if you want to construct a road now, and I stand to be corrected, the land must be tested, bridges must be created and all that, and not to fix street light. If you are fixing street lights now and then removing the toll booth, then it means you do not intend to fix the road for us. So we want it to be done right. All things being equal, there should be a specific plan which have been started to revamp the road, and then they can consider the revamp for us.
Okay, all right. Now, Kate, the ultimate solution is a new 10-lane motorway. They say it will cost $560 million to do that. Money which it doesn't look like we have. But some are also suggesting, look, let some private person come and put his $560 million into it, build the motorway, and then toll it heavily. Everybody pays 20 cedis to use it. And then he will recoup his money in some good time. And then we all get a 10-lane motorway, which is safe, secure, and we can get from A to B quickly. How would you feel as a commuter about that?
My brother, let me say that looking at the economic situation in this country and how much we are being paid, if it should be given to a private person who comes to construct and takes so much, that will also be a burden on us. And at the same time, we're also looking at our health and our life. So for me, in the interim, we don't need a referendum to close a part of the motorway, just as the gentleman Cecil said, that we all need to agree. We've given them the mandate to manage the country, and therefore they don't need us to go into a referendum to agree to close part of the motorway and to fix it. In the interim, my suggestion would be that we solve it by closing half, we'll manage the traffic. And then they fix it, finish, then we fix the other half. Once we look at the long-term plan of having multiple lanes and extending the motorway. But for now, we need an action now to save our lives. They should close half, fix the other half, and then open and close the other half, so that we can have our lives and continue to work while they look at the long-term plan or solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Now, Charles, you know, there's one of the hazards we haven't even mentioned yet this morning. Apart from the numerous illegal U-turns, these settlements that are springing up on either side means that there are some people who cross the motorway, you know, as if it's just their living room. You know, they jump across it, you know, without any care in the world. So while people are struggling to dodge potholes, they also have to keep their peripheral vision sharp to catch somebody emerging from the bush to just, you know, hop, skip, and jump across the motorway. These illegal settlements, the illegal trotro stops, what can be done in the interim to remove that hazard?
Could you? I think those are some of the low-hanging fruits that I think can be controlled, right? So we probably can designate certain parts of the motorway purposely for crossing. And say in the morning, for instance, there's a popular place around the Manet junction off the motorway towards Manet area. And a lot of people tend to cross over there. But then what you also tend to realize is that they are at the mercy of people, and the people stop abruptly, or sometimes they jump onto the road. And that really creates a lot of traffic, particularly in the mornings, along that stretch. And what does it cost to put a policeman there who then controls the movement of people around that stretch? So at least they allow traffic to flow normally, and then intermittently you stop the flow of traffic to allow people to cross. I don't think it's rocket science, for us to do that. Yes, people crossing haphazardly on the motorway, it's a problem, because can you imagine at night around 11 p.m. you're driving, and by the time you realize somebody in black light, if you don't put on your headlights, you're not going to see that person crossing, and people have been knocked off on the motorway and in a hit and run situations like that, and it's just because there is no proper control of it. And this also boils down to our urban planning. There are a lot of settlements along the motorway. Some of them are squatters, and then you wonder, we allow them to stay there, and after a while we kind of decongest the place or let them go, kind of demolish the place. 2-3 months later, they come back, nobody seems to do anything until somebody raises all sort of hell, and then we go back, to decongest their place again. And obviously when we enter into the election year, nothing gets done. So I don't think that some of these things are too much to do. In the interim, we can put some sort of interim measures to curtail some of these things, and then allow the motorway to function. Obviously, the street light situation doesn't help. I have used the motorway quite extensively, particularly in the last 4 years. When street lights are fixed, within a month or two, it's not functioning anymore. Nobody cares, and obviously because of the economic situation, there are people who want to do all sort of things just to get some money. So people tend to cut cables and steal cables, and nobody seems to care. It's quite appalling, just to lament about something simple as this, which can be done. It's not beyond us to do this. If we can't fix a place like the motorway or put it in a better shape to save lives, then what's the point?
Well, we've heard all your solutions, and they all have merit. Let's find out what is actually happening this morning. The solution that has been deployed by the authorities is to remove 2 of the toll booths on each end of the motorway, and then fix the street lights and reinforce some of the safety barriers. Carlos Caloni of Joy News is actually there where the demolition exercise began at about 5 a.m. this morning. Carlos, tell us what you see. How far along are they with this remedy that they are implementing?
All right, Kojo. So I've been to the Accra toll booth where the boats, 2 of the boats, actually there are about 8 boats on the stretch. 2 of them have been cleared. Those 2 actually sit on the original motorway. They have been cleared so far at the Accra end of the motorway. But the road is yet to be open for traffic, because I understand that there are some other works to be done. So those 2 toll boats on the original motorway are gone. But currently I'm at the Tema Toll Plaza, where similar demolition exercise is ongoing here. The main 2 toll boats on the actual motorway are being cleared as we speak. There's an excavator that is actually demolishing the concrete on the road and then loading the debris into a tipper truck. And so as they break it, they take it away. And so that is what is going on here. I have with me the main contractor who is actually undertaking this work to give us some further details on activities here. So you are live on Joy News. What can you tell us yesterday? What time did you start the demolition exercise?
Okay, the demolition exercise actually began yesterday, 3:30 p.m. It lasted for almost about 4 hours. And the main focus is to actually demolish the main toll booth that is on the main span of the Tema Motorway, Accra-Tema, and then from Tema to Accra.
All right, so you are here in Tema. What are you doing currently? If you can paint a picture for us.
All right. Here at the Mato Plaza, we are trying to repeat a similar thing that we did yesterday. Because of the accidents that are frequently happening on the Tema toll booth motorway, it's because of the toll booth that some vehicles are not able to have a straight path when they are driving towards Tema, and then from Accra towards Tema, and then from Tema towards Accra.
So it means that by close of day, you'll be done with work here?
Sure, we will. We've been the contractors for only the demolition work as it stands now. By the day, we'll be done with our work.
What is the plan for the other booths that you are leaving without demolition? What is the plan for it?
Okay, as I said, we are the contractor for the demolition exercise only. The one we left it in the hands of us, the roads and highways to decide.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. So, Kojo, that is the picture here. Two of the booths are also being demolished here at the Tema Toll Plaza. And according to the contractor, after that is done, they will now take clearance from the Ghana Highways Authority with regards to what becomes of the rest of the toll booths. So the idea is to clear the Accra motorway so that vehicles can freely move in and out. So that's the situation, Kojo.
Carlos, very quickly, what's the situation with the street lights?
Kojo, I didn't get that.
What is the situation with the street lights, very briefly?
Exactly. So the street lights have been fixed. I can see about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of those street lights have been fixed. They've been the solar lights have been installed and all that. And according to the contractor I spoke to yesterday, all these lights have been fixed and they are working at both ends of the motorway. So that's it. But don't forget, this particular street light is not for the entire motorway. This has actually been fixed here to help the contractors work in the night. I mean, with regards to the demolition work here, it is not for the entire motorway. They are being installed at the both ends of the toll booth here.
So it's not the motorway street lights. It's just some lights that have been fixed for the construction, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is not for the entire stretch. So, like I said, I'm counting just about 9 street lights at this end, and the other side we have about 9 also. So that's it. That's just for the demolition work.
Yeah, that is a very important clarification. Thank you, Carlos, for that update. Carlos Caloni is our man from Joy News, and he'll certainly be giving us continued updates of this work, which is supposed to take 5 days to complete. We'll see how that goes. But no, street lights are not being fixed. What we are seeing are the establishment of some lights just for the construction to be done. That was my original understanding, actually.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it was later that I heard mention of street lights.
Yeah.
But it turns out...
Because we have been complaining about street lights for a very long time, we thought that any attempt to, even if it's a temporary fixing of those ones, would have been to at least give some... Well, anyway.
No, it's just the installation of solar lights, I believe, so that they can work at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, now we know, right? I want to say a big thank you to our guests who have been with us from the beginning of this conversation. Etienne Nate, Kate Walker, Charles Edemgo, and Reggie Mark Hansen. These are regular, daily users of the motorway. And if their experience doesn't make you see the seriousness of this, then nothing will, really. This is a road of national importance. And another thing, I mean, the biggest contributor to the damage is the heavy loaded vehicles, coming from Tema. And I mentioned earlier how this is a clear indication of the state of our economy, because we import far more than we export. So the road from Accra to Tema is not as bad as the road from Tema to Accra, because the heavier trucks are on that side. Now these trucks are heading out of Ghana, especially to Francophone countries. We're surrounded by Francophone countries, right? Now the load limit in Francophone countries has always been higher than the one that was set for the motorway 56 years ago. Okay, is it 58? 58 years ago. Okay, so we have always had a lower threshold. The road was not built to carry the kinds of weights that are allowed in other countries. Now, instead of amending this, what we decided to do was we will just weigh them and then we will fine them, and then use that money to maintain the road. But even the road toll for 57 years was never used the way it should to maintain the road properly. And
actually, road tolls are for maintenance.
That's what they are supposed to be for. But how much maintenance did the motorway see during its lifespan? How much? Okay, and then we started weighing these vehicles, and the idea was that if we find them, we will use that also. But that money, first of all, was never sufficient to maintain the motorway, and secondly, did it even go there, or did it go somewhere else? You know, these are things that we really need to rethink. If we are going to build a 10-lane motorway, are we going to allow trotros to stop on it? If not, then we should be demolishing those settlements now, because when we set up the 10 lanes, we can't have those settlements there. You know, so maybe some of these decisions must be made now to make the place safer for those who have to travel now.
But in fairness, we had always indicated to the people that we would actually do some demolition. We actually have had, as far back as 2018, been telling them that, and the promises have gone on consistently, except that there's always a big gap between what politicians say when they appear there and the realities the day or so after. Yeah. That is where the major problem is. Anyway,
there you go. All right. Well, we want to say a big thank you to ETN, to Kate, to Charles, and to Reggie. You've really made our show.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate it. And you can play this back online, and any points that you missed, you can just replay them.